Hey everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today I'm going to be walking you through how to do some easy flower drawings or flower doodles. I am using colored pencils and alcohol markers and just a black marker to draw these flowers. I'm doing 3 different flowers. I'm doing lupins, forget-me-nots, and sunflowers, and I'm going to walk you through step by step how to draw these flowers. These are flowers that basically anyone can draw. So if you're new to drawing or if you're interested in drawing flowers, then this is a video for you. Grab your art supplies and follow along as I draw these pretty easy doodles using colored pencils and markers. And I'm going to get started and I hope you join me. For the sunflower, I just start with like the center part, and it kind of looks like a donut. So I drew like the center part and then I'm just mapping in the leaves. The photo I'm using is just a guide. I'm not trying to actually draw what I see in the photo. Sometimes it's nice to look at the flower you want to draw, but still draw it in your own way. So I'm mapping out the leaves. And the one thing I like about sunflowers is the leaves are or the petals, actually, not the leaves. The petals are like really forgiving. They're not just one specific way. They go in different directions, and I think that's what makes them so pretty. Markers and mark making is a great way to create texture and add some points of interest to your drawing. I also like doing it because it helps me when I'm going to color this sunflower to know where the darks and the lights are. So I'm just doing my own little dots and mark making to create some shadows and depth to the drawing before I actually start coloring it with my colored pencils. Another really great thing about the sunflowers is how thick the stalk is and then how large the leaves are. I don't even know if I actually made the leaves large enough, but they're just so beautiful. And I think sunflowers are kind of an easy flower to draw just because they come in all, no sunflower is perfect. Like the leaves are messy and going in different directions, and so you could really play around and have fun with it. And I'm really loving how this is starting to turn out. For this drawing, I'm using my Artex colored pencils. I have all kinds of colored pencils in different brands, but I am actually falling in love with the Artex colored pencils and the way they go on the paper. I'm just using regular sketchbook paper. You can also use just regular printer paper. I just find these colored pencils seem to work on any paper that has that's not overly smooth. I really like how these layer on top of each other as well. So those are the colored pencils that I'm using. And you can see I'm trying to do, like I did a light yellow for the leaves, and then I'm trying to go in and do like a darker yellow closer towards the center because I could see there's some shadow there. And so that's what I'm gonna do. I also map in the brown. I do a first layer of a light brown, and then as I go through, I continue to add some darker brown. So I'm just coloring the full center with brown, and then I'm gonna add the shadows in after. One of the things I'm noticing is I really want a nice transition between the center to the outside of the flower. Additionally, if you notice where the petals come in contact with the center of the flower, it's more of a messy line, not a perfect circle. So I grabbed my, these are Ohuhu markers. I just grabbed my alcohol markers. I'm trying to make sort of a jagged line around the outside. So there's more of a transition between the center of the flower and the petals rather than just being a perfect circle. And so I'm playing around with that. Grab any green that you like for the leaves. I grabbed this really nice light colored green. And then the other thing I find is even if you color the whole thing with one color, if you add a darker color on top of it in certain areas, it creates a nice, some shading and depth to the flower that you're drawing. So now I'm going in with a darker green just to create some contrast. I like adding a little marker as well on top of it. I find like the alcohol markers help blend the colored pencils a little bit, and so I'm just playing around with my alcohol markers on top of the drawing, but you don't have to do that. I think it's just a fun added touch, and I get to play with the different materials and see how it works on the paper. So I really do like having alcohol markers on top of my colored pencils, and just for me personally, I think it's a fun way to play with your art supplies. In the final step of this drawing, I just take my Faber-Castell Pitt pen, and for me personally, I just wanted to add a little white to it, and so I had fun adding those little dots and just creating some areas of highlight on the leaves and on the center of the sunflower. But I really love how this turned out. It was so much fun. We're going to move on in a minute to the lupins. With lupins, you're really just drawing a series of circles in almost a triangular shape. So at first I started doing, ovals. You could do ovals, circles. You don't want to keep it all the same because you don't want it to look too perfect, or at least I don't. And I'm just generally looking at the flowers and then trying to mimic the shape of the lupins, but with in my own style. I'm not really trying to make it perfect. Additionally, I'm going to add some leaves and a stalk to the flower because I want to draw a series of 2 flowers and have some greenery in there. So that's why I add the leaves as well. Don't worry too much about perfection and trying to draw exactly what you see. This is just you having fun, playing around and doodling flowers. Just a bunch of circles, a stalk, and some messy little leaves, and then you're going to start coloring. I'm just grabbing whatever purple and green I feel like, and maybe I see in these flowers in the picture have a little bit of a darker reddish color, so I might try to add that as well. I think these would be really great flowers to draw with watercolor. I may have to try this activity again using watercolor and then outlining the flower. So we may have some more flower drawings in the future. But I grab a really light purple and I color each one of these circles almost individually. And then I go in with a darker purple, like a reddish purple, as you can see here, to try to just create some shadow and shading. I use a few different shades of purple. And like I said, like if you have good color pencils, like the Artex ones, they layer on top of each other really well and easily, so you don't have to struggle too much with it. So now I'm moving on to the forget-me-nots. This is so much fun. So you just draw one circle for the center, and then there's 5 circles around that circle, and then 5 petals around that. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm not sure which one of these flowers I love drawing the most. They were all really fun and interesting to do and super easy to draw. Forget-me-nots are pretty small, and I looked up a lot of different flowers, a lot of different forget-me-nots, and sometimes I'm not sure if the pictures I'm looking at are AI or real, but that was the closest one that I found, with the circle with 5 circles with 5 petals, and then there's these little white bits in between each petal. And this one is also really fun to color. I went a little crazy with the coloring too, because I colored it in with the colored pencils, and then I added some alcohol markers, but I really don't think you need to with these. They're so pretty and delicate. You can just use your colored pencils. You probably don't even need to use a lot of layers with it. And just adding that pretty brown and yellow, just a really easy and fun flower that I think anyone can draw. Like I said, I probably could have stopped after I added my colored pencils, but I continued to move on with the alcohol markers, and then I might have even added several layers of alcohol markers on this one as I'm watching it. I think it helped blend it, but I don't think it needed it. So you don't need to use all sorts of art supplies. You could really even use crayons. This is so much fun and so easy to do. But I just continue on, and that's what that's a great way to learn to draw as well, is just playing with your art supplies, continuing on, knowing how you do it differently next time. But I really do love this blue color. I think it might be my favorite. So I'm adding a little bit of acrylic paint to this because I felt like the yellow was too dark in the centers. And then I get out my, this is the Faber-Castell Pitt pen. I really like this. It works really well over my sketches to add a little bit of highlight. And that's what I'm doing there because I want that little bits between the petals to sort of stand out. These are the final drawings. I love these forget-me-nots. This was really fun to draw, and I think I'm going to do more of these. The Loopins were fun as well. It was a nice, simple drawing, but I love how it turned out. Just basic, pretty, playing with colors and shapes. But by far my favorite was the sunflower. I love how this turned out, and this was just basic, using colored pencils and marker. I'd love to know how the drawings turned out for you guys. Leave a comment below, and if there's another flower you want to learn to draw, let me know in the comments. I hope you all have a wonderful day and happy sketching.